Hi there, I'm Barb Allen. Welcome back to another episode of American Snippets. Today's guest is super cool for a lot of reasons, but what we really love about him is how he turned left when a lot of people are turning right in their lives. You know, at a point in time after 20 years of a successful career, when a lot of people look to retire and sit back and maybe live off of their savings at that point, Ross Stryker went a completely different way, launched an entire new career and crushed it. He is killing it nationally and internationally, and he's helping other people do the same. He is proof positive. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, so long as you are willing to work for it. Ross Stryker, thank you so much for being here today.
Barb, thanks for having me. Hey, frankly, with that introduction, I'm going to start dragging you to meetings. You can introduce me to people at meetings. I was just at a networking event in Phoenix. I'll be in San Francisco this week. But yeah, I definitely have changed silos, if you will. I'm in a whole different venue, and it's been a lot of fun the last 5 years, transitioning from, I like to call myself a recovering orthodontist.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do for many years. And of course, I was in the military for 12 years and then transitioned to private practice. And now I'm doing something entirely different. So
I love it. Love it. And in just 5 years, you have just come onto the scene. You just walked into this arena and you just said, this is mine and I'm taking it. I love it. It is so awesome. So first let's talk about, we're going to talk about what you do now, and then we're going to go back and bring people through that story of how you got there and maybe the mindset, like how you were able to approach what you're doing now with the mindset of just forward only. Like there was no going back, right? Just forward. So I think mindset is a big part of that and experience and all that. So today, your company is Smart Asset Opportunities. Tell us a little bit about what that company does.
Smart Asset Opportunities tries to educate people about alternative investing and especially real estate investing. We do quite a bit of real estate investing, but we also offer opportunities for people to invest in commercial properties, including self-storage, which we focus on a lot. But the partners that partner with us are actually owners, so they get to take advantage of the advantages that ownership has with cash flow, equity participation, and tax advantages. So in a nutshell, that's what Smart Asset Opportunities. And by the way, I just want to back up. It's not anything that I've done. It's a team. I have a team of people, and my nuclear team, 4 people, my wife, Mary, Shannon, who works with me day to day here in Florida, Natalie, who works with us virtually from down in Florida, and then we have Ivy in the Philippines. But then we've created other teams, and we can talk about that more, but we have teams at properties that we invest with. So it's not just me. It's really my main job is just to stay out of the way of people that really know what the hell they're doing, Barb, and make sure that things are getting done for our investors. That's my main role.
Sometimes that is the most important thing we can all do, right? Is just get out of the way, set it in motion, and then get out of the way and let it go. But that's also another important lesson, because a lot of people like to be hands-on, micromanage. You got to trust your team. You got to build a team you trust and is knowledgeable. You have to align your mission, and you have to know that that team is going to knock it out of the park and, you know, be willing.
Oh, you're so right. And let me tell you, my previous profession is a dentist, an orthodontist. Those are the most micromanaging human beings that God ever invented. Now, thankfully, I was an orthodontist. And so if you've ever been to an orthodontic office, it's generally a little different because we delegate a lot of things. So I did learn how to create a team. I had 24 people working for me in my private practice of orthodontics. Of course, my prior experience in the military, I learned how to be part of a team too. So real estate investing, alternative investing is no different. It's all about creating teams.
Yeah. So I am the daughter of a dentist and a frequent visitor to orthodontist appointments, both for myself and all 4 of my boys. Got them all through orthodontic braces. And I tell you, man, for a little while, I assisted my father as, you know, in his dental practice. Dude, man, I hated it. So I think, but it gave me a great respect for people who do that, because, you know, it's not an easy job.
You know, it's funny you mention your father, because my 99-year-old mother is just trying to call me as we're on this interview.
Oh, you should say hi.
Well,
so I love it when we do that. Oh, bummer.
I was out of town in Phoenix, and I guarantee you, I haven't called her yet on Monday morning. And because I haven't called her yet, she's calling me to say, why haven't you called me yet?
Oh my God, that's great. If she calls back, definitely pick her up and put her on.
I
I
will. I
love
will
that.
bring her on. I'll bring her on if she calls again. I've got my
It's
phone on silent over here, but I saw the screen and my Apple Watch is buzzing,
it's
saying that my
buzzing.
mom's calling me. Yes. So,
Great,
well,
great.
that's fascinating. You've got a dental background, so anyway,
I
that's
do. Yes, I got to do that. And it
yeah.
was for me, it was disgusting. I hated it. It was just
That's
gross.
disgusting.
It was gross.
Well,
It
you
was
know,
just,
it could be a proctologist, Barb. So it could
well,
be the other the human body.
yes,
Okay.
yes. I don't even
So,
know. I don't know. Now my brain is a little frozen after that image. So I'm just going to
yeah.
roll on. So
At least your dad didn't do that, and I doubt you would have been invited into the office for those
I doubt I would
appointments.
have gone. Doubt I
Yeah.
would have gone. Um,
No.
and after you have kids, 4 boys, man, they invite you into places you don't want to go. You just got to do things with them to help them with whatever function they are failing in. So
Okay.
there's a
Gotcha.
lot I've seen. But so 12 years in the military, do you think, what branch of the military?
I was in the Army.
In the
Yeah.
Army. What
Yeah.
what do you think that did for you in terms of preparing you? A lot of people, as I'm sure you know, and as we were just talking about before we hopped on, finally started recording this, is the difficulty military families face in employment and careers and sustaining careers outside of the military, both for spouses, for sure, and then veterans when they're out of the military, they have to transition and navigate a whole world that they've been out of for a while. So how was that? What did you learn in the military that allowed you to make that transition? And what are some of those issues you faced in that process?
Well, the military for me was a tremendous experience. First of all, when I got out, I didn't realize how much I really enjoyed the camaraderie of the military because you immediately have a family of people every time you move to a new location. Now, for my wife, it was difficult because she enjoyed working, and every time we moved, as you alluded to, there was a very great difficulty kind of starting over. I was plugged into a job,
Yeah.
so I immediately just picked up just a different place, and now I'm doing the same thing I was doing at the previous location, basically. But for military spouses, I'm in a small town in Missouri, and we're near Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I had an office right outside of Fort Leonard Wood, but I also had an office in a small town. And it's amazing how little civilians know about the life that military families live. It's really completely unaware of the fact that, let's say that you've just given birth, the sponsor's deployed, and you're 1,000 miles away from grandparents,
Yeah.
and you have no support group. And that is extremely difficult. People don't realize that about going to work. You got a child that's sick. There's no family member to go pick that child up from school. There's
Yep.
no help available. Yes, the military helps its own. I get that, but there's
To an
just something
extent.
about being,
Yeah.
to an extent, but you can't replace that family support that you get from people who live in a small town, and and so good people that were working for me, but to try and educate them as to what not only the military sponsors go through,
Yep.
but what the military families go through. That's an education job that I enjoy, trying to continue educating people about the travails that military families go through. The kids going to new schools,
Yeah.
finding new dentists, finding new physicians, finding everything, finding a place to live. What's the right part of town? I mean, just make a list. There's 1,000 things every time you move that people don't
Yeah.
realize, that are, from small town America. They don't realize what you have to go through every time you transition.
Yeah. So do you think that helped you? So 20 years, a dentist and an orthodontist, and you're at the point where you could do what I think a lot of people do, right? They look at their pension, their retirement funds, what it is. How can we afford to stay in this house? We can afford to travel this much and this time. This is our birthday present budget, like that kind of thing. And just parcel out whatever it is they've managed to save and accrue and hope that nothing terrible happens to, deplete that quicker than they plan. Instead of doing that, you and your wife had a bold conversation and made a great, I think, a great move to just go for it. Can you talk
Well,
about
yeah,
that?
I'm sure there are times where my wife wishes I had taken the traditional path,
Of
which is
course. Yeah.
to go live at the beach
Yeah.
and get a metal detector and look for coins, on the beach. Okay. But that's just not my nature,
No.
Barb. God didn't put us here to retire. I don't believe in retirement. I believe we're meant to serve other people. And I had help. I had mentors. I had mastermind groups that I was part of that showed me the light to alternative investing to say, traditional wisdom, typical wisdom, the system, if you will, is set up so that what do we expect on retirement? We expect to live a lesser lifestyle because that's just what traditional investing tells us. Well, when you're retired, you're going to live on less. Really? When you're retired, you're going to give less to charities. Really? Is that really the kind of retirement people want? I don't think so. And so we had help getting to our freedom point, as I call it, replacing our transactional income, that income that's made by exchanging your hours for dollars with passive income. And I want to give back. I want to help other people reach that point. It's exciting to know that 95% of the population now currently retires to a lifestyle less than what they were having when they were working. That's not exciting. What's exciting is you can change that. You can move that needle for some people and say you don't have to accept that as most people do. You can change that. You can change that story.
And you guys, now this was about 5 years ago. You decided to do this, and
2014.
So tell us then. First of all, if you don't mind me asking, how old were you guys at that point?
We were 58.
Okay, so 58 years old. And you decide we're just going to start something new, which I love. I love. And more so for people. I talk to a lot of people who are like in their 20s and their 30s, and they're like, I got to do this by the time I'm 40. By the time I'm 40, it doesn't matter anymore. They think like 40 is like the flat earth syndrome. You just fall off of life at 40 years old, right?
Yeah,
46. And I'm like, oh no, I'm just getting started, right? So at 58 years old, you sit down, you have that conversation. And in the span of 5 years, let's talk about what you've accomplished, you and your team have accomplished in those 5 years, because you're not just national, you're international now. And just list for us quickly, if you can, what it is where are you at in your business?
Okay, well, we started out like typical real estate investors buying single-family homes. Not that we don't manage anything. Actually, we started out as lenders, Barb. I mean, that's the safe space in investing if you've got people that you know, like, and trust, is starting out as a money lender for people who are experienced at either flipping or wholesaling or doing turnkey properties. But we also started out investing in properties, got up to where we had 40 single-family homes. I'm frankly selling those off because they're not scalable, but I'm keeping many of them. But duplexes, fourplexes, but graduated into more commercial properties, syndications, office parks, multifamily apartments. We have holdings overseas in Belize, part owners of a coffee farm in Panama. ATMs, people don't know that ATMs are something you can invest in. Not the ones that the banks own, but the ones that you might see in a convenience store or along the turnpike or those kind of things. And those are great investments. There's equipment, that has great depreciation offsets to the income. So yeah, we've invested in a lot of alternative investing assets, and it's not because of me. It's because of the networking I've done, the people I've met, the people that I know, like, and trust, creating a tribe of people that you can trust. And I like to call it a tribe because in the tribe there's protection in investing, because if you have a tight-knit group, just like the military, you've got each other's back. You know that person that you're investing with is going to treat you right, because they know if they don't, they'll be kicked out of the tribe. Right. So there's protection there. And trust me, there's people in real estate investing that will take advantage of people, just like in any business, other asset class, in any area. Yeah. So you've got to be very careful who you deal with, very careful.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've alluded to this now a couple of times, is the masterminds and the group of people. First, for the people who are listening who may not know what a mastermind is, if somebody's asked you to explain it.
First of all, the question I get asked a lot is, well, how do I do this? Or, where do I start? And I tell them getting educated is so important. Now, I'm not, doing this to kiss up to you, but listening to podcasts is a good place to start. But you can't take action. You've got to create that organic feel with somebody. And really, it's got to, real estate investing is a team sport, and you've got to create those networks. So the first mastermind that we joined was a group of dentists led by a dentist who no longer is a dentist, because he's really a real estate investor, not a dentist anymore. He doesn't do dentistry and hasn't for many years. Yeah. He woke up one day and found out that 80% of his net worth was from his real estate investing, but he was only spending 20% of his time on that. And so the light bulb went off. So he trains other people like myself, and that group is still a great group. I don't belong to it anymore. I got invited back as an alumni to kind of share what I'm doing now a couple of weeks ago.
That's cool.
But we have I'm part of 3 other masterminds. I was just in Phoenix last weekend for part of one that I belong to. I'll be in San Francisco this week for another mastermind group. These are all groups that we help each other. We share notes, we share experiences, we share contacts. And, in Wall Street, insider information will get you thrown in jail. But in real estate investing, that's where the opportunities are found. The insider information gets you the real opportunity.
Yeah. So masterminds aren't typically free. You typically pay a fee to join one of those, right? So somebody starts the mastermind and people are invited in. That's the other thing. Right. They're exclusive groups. You have to be certain levels, have certain tiers of membership. What would somebody, so masterminds can be startups, small ones can be like $1,000 up to $25,000 up to 50, and all the different price range depending on the level of the field that you're playing on.
It depends on the level you want to play at, but I tell people that there's the group I was with last week, and I know this sounds like a lot of money for most people, but it's $5,000 a year, which is by a mastermind standard quite low.
Yeah, that's not a lot for a mastermind.
And I would be foolish not to belong to that group.
Yes.
I have a group that I had to write a check for $100,000 to be part of that group. So there's some that but I'm at a different point than probably some of your listeners. And my avatar for Smart Asset Opportunities is typically small business owners, dentists, physicians, but it can be, heating and air conditioning, plumbers, whatever, that come to me and they've got some capital, but they don't know how to invest it. They don't know where to get started. So do they have to be part of that mastermind? No, they can team up with me and take advantage of my knowledge as well. But if people really want to get active in the process, they need to shell out a little bit of money to be part of mastermind, because look, we learn from mistakes, right?
Yep.
But they don't have to be our mistakes. They can be somebody else's mistakes. And if you go to mastermind, you're going to learn many of the mistakes. Now, I've repeated some of the mistakes I was told not to repeat, but that's part of the learning process too. Right. So, I don't always listen to my mentors as well as I should, but typically it's like one of the groups that I'm part of, Barb, is a self-storage mastermind. Believe it or not, there's a mastermind just on self-storage.
That's crazy. Like I would never
I know. I would think. I mean, and I got to tell you, this is crazy too, because I do some things in the morning with my wife with a lady named Leslie Sansone. It's just a walking stuff, and I'm like, who could have made a living off of just doing videos on walking? But Leslie did. But anyway, the same thing, the mastermind on storage. But it's an incredible networking group that helps you get there faster. I mean, could I learn the self-storage business? I'm a smart guy. Probably in 5 or 10 years, I could learn it. Or I can be part of that group and skip all the mistakes. And just step to the front of the line and find the opportunities, because we have brokers that are part of that group. We have other people that are, former CFOs that are part of that group that look at the financing and the underwriting. So we just skip to the front of the line instead of spending all that time climbing our way up the ladder. So it is a lot of money, but in the long run, it saves you time, which is really, to me, the greatest way of measuring wealth now is time, not money.
Yeah. And I'm like, I talk to people when somebody says to me, like, why would you spend money on this? Like, why, people who want to get from where they are to somewhere else. And the thought of spending that money and not getting immediate return there's a lot of fear in that. Right. And, you look at them like, where are you at Six Flags, last month? Yeah. Didn't you pay extra for the VIP, the fast pass? Yeah. Wasn't that money for all of you? Yeah. But you had to skip everybody in line and go up and get more out of your time. You got more out of the 6 hours than all those people who spent all that time in line, right? And I think that's a simplistic way of narrowing it down, but to me, that's what it is. You bypass all that time in line and you just go right and maximize every minute that you've paid to be at a place. And like, you're paying to work, you're investing yourself, investing your business. So I love it.
But I also deal with people, Barb, that are very busy with their lives. They're still in that transactional income. They just want to invest with me. They trust me.
Perfect.
So, I can help them get to their freedom path, but I always tell them, make sure along the way that you're not just writing a check to me for an opportunity. I want you to learn the nuts and bolts behind what's going on here. Ask hard questions. Make sure you look behind the curtain and see, what are the fees behind this? What are the costs? How is this transaction occurring? Because you need to ask those questions, because someday you might want to do those things yourself. They may not want to always come to me for opportunities. They may want to create their own. If not, that's fine. I'm happy to help them. But on the other hand, I really believe in people getting educated so they don't get taken advantage of by others that might do that.
Yeah. So if somebody is not the kind of person to, maybe a mastermind isn't too much, or they don't want to go to college or go here or there, they can call you up. I can call you up and say, hey, Ross, I'd really like to learn how to invest in this area and get started from A to Z. I can hire you to mentor me, coach me, teach me
Well,
through that process.
I'm not really a mentor. I'm not really a financial advisor, but I do have a weekly blog, and we do have webinars that we put on now and again on opportunities that are available. And so, for example, my weekly blog list is several hundred folks that get that. And occasionally I'll have an operator, a promoter come to me that I know, somebody I've vetted, that I've done business with, that I'll invest my own money with. I'll put my own skin in the game. And it might be somebody that says, hey, I've got an apartment complex in Louisiana we're going to be developing. We want to put on a webinar. Great, let's get that together and people can attend that. Now, that's educational only. They'll have to contact the operator later and request the PPM and the offering memorandum and the operating agreement and all that to see if they want to invest. But that's kind of how we roll, is education first, and then if people want to participate in an opportunity as those come available, which right now I don't have an opportunity. So somebody called me and said they want to invest in something. I'm like, well, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks. We've got something coming up that we're doing a raise on a property, but right now I don't have anything. So anyway.
So what was the moment then when you had hit that point, that 20-year mark, and you knew you wanted to do something else? What was it that that conversation you had with your wife, what was that like? Like, you guys sat down and you said, hey, I think I don't want to retire. I think I want to do this. Was she on board right away? Was she not on board right away? And then how did you decide to make it real estate investing?
Well, I'm sure she was a little bit scared because we had, I had a career that paid a lot of money, Barbara. I was making really good money, okay? And I still get people that ask me, how could you transition away from that? Excuse me. My feeling was I wanted to leave that profession when I was on top. We've all seen aging athletes or aging doctors, for that point, that people come in and go, hey, can Dr. Smith still see to do this procedure? I mean, hands are shaking or whatever. I wanted to leave when I was at the top of my career. Now, making that change into alternative investing was actually a product of the people that had helped me, and that happened to be the area they were in. Now, I took it a different route. Again, I don't do the single-family homes. Right. I don't do duplexes and fourplexes because it's not scalable. I can't bring a group of people to those kind of projects, but in larger commercial projects, I can do that. So basically, I'm just giving back what somebody gave to me. It's no different. I mean, I was given a gift of my eyes waking up and going, wait a second, you mean I don't have to get to age 60, get off of the Wall Street roller coaster, we're riding it up and down, and put my money in some kind of CD at 2%, which, Barb, I'll be honest with you, most of the people I help are making good incomes, but to replace their transactional income at a 2% return, they would have to have a huge pile of money. But now when you start talking about 8%, 10%, no guarantees in any project or more, then the light bulb goes off in their head too, just like it did for me, to say, I got this. I'm at my freedom point, and I want to help other people see that light bulb too.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you started with real estate investment, but like you said, you have ATMs, you have the coffee farm in Panama, storage units, ownership in a Brazilian resort, right? That's like, it seems from the outside looking in, it's like, how does one person, it seems like all of those are unrelated, right?
Well, but they're what I call shiny objects, Barb. Yeah. But some of them are because my wife thought it would be cool to own part of a coffee farm. So I did because she thought that was neat. But it's a good investment too. Yeah. And the people, the operators behind it, David Sewell is an expat from Canada who's been living in Panama for many years. And the thing she really liked about that, other than it was just a coffee farm in Panama, it's a feel-good investment. It's a socially responsible investment where the operation is putting money back into the lives of the coffee farmers that are there on the ground, helping them with medical care and housing. So it's not just returns for somebody to drink a cup of coffee, or for investors to make returns off of people drinking a cup of coffee. It's a feel-good investment. But there are many things in there that I did just to learn. And I had the assets to do that. Now we're focused a little more on our team on finding our niche, in which we're really focused a lot on self-storage right now. And it's a great asset, but there's many great asset classes: mobile home parks, multifamily, just you name it. There's a lot of assets to invest in, but you have to, if you're going to be a promoter, if you're going to be an operator, a developer, which I am now, you really have to drill down and say, what's my focus going to be? These things are all cool out here, and I'll still do them personally. But as far as bringing those myself to people, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let other operators bring the multifamily. I'm going to let other people bring the mobile home park investments to my group. I'm not going to be the expert on everything. I can't be. And I'm not the expert on storage either. I have a team. They're the experts. I just stay out of their way and let them do what they do.
Awesome. So what would you say to somebody who came to you and said, I really want to invest? Say I'm 55 years old. I'm looking at retiring. I need to do something. I can't afford to even keep my house after I retire. How can I turn this around at 55 years old with no savings?
Yeah, well, no savings is hard.
Yeah.
So, but look, you are where you are, and you got to start where you're at. So if you're no savings, first of all, I would say get some basic education, because it can be very intimidating in investing. Because what do we typically hand our money over to somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. And we let them take care of our money. We don't learn about it. That's the mistake that so many people make. So I'm like, get a little basic education, know the terminology first, okay? The second thing is, Barb, most of the people that approach me are small business owners. My avatar, my blog list is mainly small business owners. I tell them the first thing you can invest in and make the best return is your business, because you know how to move the needle. You control it. You control it. I like investing in things that I have control over. So I tell them to do that first. And then the third thing, after all that, they've got the education, they've maximized the returns on their business, is then they can go to alternative investments with people that they know, like, and trust, or I can help them find people I've vetted, and they can be part of the tribe that we have. But you got to have that basic knowledge. You got to take care of what your basic business is first, because there might be value in that at the back end too on the sale of it. So that's important. They take care of that baby.
Yeah. All right. So sometimes I like to just pop in random questions around. Just
go
because.
For it.
Okay. So, I'm a writer, I'm a reader. I love to read books, love to write them, love to do all that. And I think reading books is super important and super valuable. So I think most people we interview who have high levels of success do as well. So curious to know, what is the last book you read? What is
I'm in the middle of Extreme Ownership by the Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
You may have read that. I don't know. But I love that book. And as a matter of fact, we have a team Zoom meeting this afternoon. Usually we have it in the morning, but you interrupted that, Barb. Oh. So anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Great. Awesome.
No, I told them, I said, look, we've got to take some lessons from that book. So that's the one that I'm currently in the middle of right now. The last book I read was a book on note investing by a guy named David Van Horn. So those are the two that are right now on my list. So, yeah. But the one I finished before that was a book called Essentialism, which, focusing again, because I am a squirrel chaser. I think a lot of us are ADHD, and we've got to we love chasing different things. So that book on essentialism really try to boil it down to really what's essential today that you'll be working on. This other stuff is just BS. Your inbox interrupts you, and you let your day chase the email inbox and that kind of thing. So anyway, we'll be talking about that book, Extreme Ownership, this afternoon.
Perfect. Is that's Jocko?
Yeah, Jocko and Leif.
Yeah.
Jocko. Yeah.
All right. So let's see. ATMs. I wasn't going to go there, but it's in my head, and I keep
All
wanting
right,
to
we'll go
know.
with
I
ATMs.
keep wanting to know that. I was just going to let it go, but I got to
So
know.
yeah,
Like,
so
so,
people don't know how this works. All right, so the bank-owned ATMs, you're not going to invest in
right.
those most likely unless you're part of the bank board or whatever. But here's the ATMs that you see in a convenience market or along the turnpike or various places that aren't part of a particular bank. Those are typically bid on in the hundreds. You know, you might have somebody that owns a chain of
Yeah.
convenience
Yeah.
markets or whatever. And so 300, 400 of those are replaced at the same time, and people come in and bid on those. And so I've invested in groups of those ATMs a couple of times. And so the returns to the investors, again, no guarantees, but they've been pretty solid. 20, I know these numbers sound crazy. I even hate to, all right, let me just tell you, they're solid numbers,
Yeah.
okay? Plus, it's a piece of equipment. So you get to depreciate that piece of equipment over a quick lifespan. So most of the income you're making off the ATM is offset by the depreciation. So it's not even really taxed much. So people don't realize there's income that you pay taxes on, your
Right.
transactional income, but investing income oftentimes has the tax offsets that make it so you're making this income off of a piece of equipment or property, and very little of it is paid in taxes. You know, that whole thing in the presidential debate recently about, well, he's not paying much in taxes.
Right.
And Trump interjects and says, because I'm smart. Well, he's just taking advantage of the rules. I
Yeah.
mean, the government wants us to invest in real estate, wants us to
Right.
invest in equipment because it provides jobs. And so I'm just doing what the government says we should do.
What a good boy.
Yes. There you go. Following the law. So,
all right. Is there somebody that you can think of, a client that you've helped, or a moment in a mastermind when, you were able to offer some insight, like, one of those moments where you knew that guidance you offered made a significant impact in someone's life and helped them change their own trajectory?
well, yeah, frequently. I mean, that's really that's the icing on the cake when you can
Yeah.
do this for people, and you know that you're helping them. But look, I get calls from physicians and dentists because that's my
Yeah.
background in the medical field, and they're just about to make really stupid mistakes, Barb,
Yeah.
because they're trying to do something on their own. Bless their hearts, at least they're trying to do something.
Right.
But I got a call recently from a physician in Michigan who has a contract on a property in Florida. Somebody put me in touch with them, or put them in touch with me, because they know I do storage. He's going to do a storage development on this. He knows nothing about storage. He knows nothing about the numbers associated with it. He hasn't done a feasibility study on this. Has no idea how to write it. And I said, you are going to make a huge mistake if you try to do this on your own. I'm not saying that this property is not good for what you're trying to do. I'm just saying, if you've only got 15 days left on this contract, I'm sorry, you need to let it expire, because this is not going to work unless you've got it. So, helping people get to their freedom point is one thing. Helping them from making a mistake that's going to set them back 5 or 10 years on their path to freedom is another thing that's rewarding too.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So we talk a lot, and you and I were talking quickly before we started this about why we started American Snippets. And a large part is because we really genuinely believe in the American dream, even though it's cliche, but contrary to what we're being told and is all the stories that out there, we think it's alive and well, and anybody can grab onto it if they're willing to work through whatever it is they're facing. So I like to ask people we feature and we talk to, what is the American dream to you?
I think freedom is a big part of it. And freedom can mean many things. Freedom can mean lack of intervention from our government, but freedom can also mean that you're free to do what you like, when you like, with whom you like. Okay. And so, again, to me, freedom is about time and not money. That's easy for me to say because I've replaced my transactional income. But to me, freedom is really the American dream. Now, you mentioned something that's very dear to me too, because I hear so many people bashing our country. And
Yeah.
for anybody who's traveled around the country or been on mission trips to other third world countries like I have, I think that experience of seeing other countries is a big help to say, look, this is still the land of opportunity. Sure, I had a nice background. My parents sent me to college. I got a great education. But I had to work through that. Some people don't start from the same
Right.
point that I started at. But, wherever you started at, there's still opportunities. Witness the fact that we have so many folks that are immigrants, first generation, that
Yeah.
come here with maybe $100 in their pocket and become millionaires. And so many times over, by the way.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, I experienced that this weekend. The physician, head and neck surgeon, his father was an engineer, moved here from India with nothing, and became a very wealthy real estate investor. So it can happen. It can still happen today. It's just, sometimes things are hard. But when things are hard, that's where you need to move, because that's where the opportunity oftentimes lies. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All
Yeah.
right. If there is somebody that I could call up today, somebody still alive that you've never, ever met before, that I could send right on over to you to spend the afternoon with you, you could talk about anything you wanted, who would that be?
Well, it had to be alive. I've always said if there's anybody I could meet, it would either be Abraham Lincoln or Jesus, but it's got to be alive. I'll go with, I'll pick Sir Richard Branson. He's an interesting character. Dropped out of high school, whatever the equivalent is in the UK. And I'd say he's done pretty well. Started many companies, been very successful, and he's adventurous.
Yeah.
He's still doing things and pushing the envelope, and I love that he's just not retiring to the beach. He owns an island where he lives most of the time, probably for tax reasons, I would imagine. But anyway, he's an interesting character for sure.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. If people want to find out more about you, the work you do, get in touch with you for whatever reason, tell us where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Barb, the best place is just to go to our website, smartassetopportunities.com. That opportunity is plural at the end. And I encourage them just to check out my weekly blog, see if we're a good fit, kick the tires a little bit and see if they like what we're doing. If they do, great. They can get in touch with me. My contact information is on the website. But, check us out first and then reach out if we're a good fit for you. Because for some people, it just isn't interesting. But if it is, reach out. I'd be happy to talk. So
great. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And appreciate the work you're doing, too, to promote the American dream. Thank you.
Thank you. It's important to us.